Good afternoon. So we started the units in grade 11 in the previous class, and also we took some time for taking the backgrounds and the units in grade 11. So I have explained to you about the units and also the importance of some of the units. Not all the units, some of the units need to be given more importance because they have been dominating in the examination, right? So that is important. So for both batches, I have taken classes separately on the other day. But I think for one batch, I have started that topic, elements of a system, but not for the other batch. But so let me take a minute or two to explain that the thing which I explained about elements of the system for the other batch. Right, and the title "Elements of a System" is not a new thing because we have studied that in grade 10. So generally, every system has three important things called elements, right? So it may be a small system or big system or complex or simple. Every system has. They are inputs, process, output, right? Every system has these three elements. These are called elements. Inputs, process, and output, right? So as we discussed earlier, inputs are taken from the external world, right? The process is taken place inside of the system, and as a result of the processing, output is found. That output is given back to the outside world, back to the environment. So this may be the common thing in most of the system. I'm not trying to say that all the system have this pattern, but this may be possible, right? So they have inputs and also process, output, right? So hope you remember that in grade 10, we have taken some systems and identified inputs, process, and output, right? So we have taken ATM as a system for identifying these three things, and also we took a fingerprint reader, right? We took mobile phones or maybe smartphones. We took QR. So we have taken several examples for identifying the inputs and process and output. But not in all these examples, we took devices which can be taken as systems, right? Fingerprint reader is a device. ATM is a device. A smartphone is a device, right? So most of them are devices. But that the term system is not restricted to device. It beyond that one, right? Maybe an organization can be a system. A device can be a system. Even some of the living beings can be a system, like human or maybe plants. So whatever which satisfy those things can be taken as system, right? They must have a goal, or they must be able to perform a task. They must have components, and also these components must work together. So whichever satisfies these things should be system, should be considered as system, right? So that's the reason why I told you that system is not restricted to device only, right? Okay, right. So yes, the inputs, outputs, and process in ATM and other things. So let me recall that ATM again to start today's proceeding, right? So here, ATM is a system because it has components inside. All these components should work together to perform a task. For example, if it is withdrawing the money, right? So that is the task to perform the task. Components inside of the ATM should work together. Okay, that's okay. But it is important to identify the inputs, process, output. So in ATM, we have inputs, right? ATM card is one of the inputs. Personal identification number, PIN, right? That PIN is another input. The amount that you want to withdraw, that is another input because you have to type that particular amount. So everything is input. So once these things are given to the system, to the ATM needs to perform some of the processes. right? So we have mentioned some of them, like verifying the pin, right? That pin has to be checked whether it is correct or not. So verifying the pin, and also your requested amount has to be checked, because you type some amount, the system must check whether that amount is in your balance, right? So that is important. So these things are these things can be processing. As a result of this, you will be able to get the money received and some other things, right? The balance on the screen. These are outputs. So ATM is one of the systems. Okay, right. So I'm not going to take fingerprint reader or QR or other things, because we have already discussed such things, right? So today we will take some of the different examples, new examples, right? And able to find the elements, right? Inputs, process, and output. Okay. Right. So let's start with a well-known system, school, right? We all are related to school. We know the things which are happening inside of the school. So this may be the best example for starting with, right? So look here, it's a school. Right, so in a school, you have to take inputs for doing some processes. So if you take a school, we take students as inputs, right? Students must be inputs. But you can't say that students are the only inputs, because to do regular activities in school, you need some other components too, right? You have to bring some other components too. So all of these can be taken as inputs, right? Like students, right? Teachers, and principal, funds, right? So these can be categorized as inputs, because they are important, or they are must for achieving school goal or school's tasks, right? So they are inputs. So once they have been brought, right? Okay, assume they have been brought. So now there should be processes. As we discussed earlier, process must be within the system, right? You need to perform any processes, whatever it is, it must be done within the system. Tell me the process to be done in the school. What is the process? So what are the processes taken place in the school?
Teaching
and learning.
Yes, simply teaching and learning. It can be any kind of teaching, right? Even if it is a sporting activity, that may be a teaching activity or learning activity. If it is a practical oriented thing, like the things that you do in a laboratory, can be something related to teaching and learning. So simply teaching and learning. Teaching and learning. Okay, so inputs are taken and they have been engaged in processes. So here the main process is teaching as well as learning, right? We have two processes, but we conduct them simultaneously, right? As a result of the processes, you will be able to get outputs, output. So what about the output of a school? Tell me, what is the output? You should know that, right?
Knowledge and skills gained by students.
Sorry?
Knowledge and skills gained by students.
Knowledge and skills gained by students. Any others?
Providing good citizens.
Good citizens. Right. Look, yes, you can say that skills or knowledge. Okay, but we can simply say good citizens, right? Good citizens with right knowledge or something. So I don't want to, elaborate. So it's enough for me. Good citizens. Right? Good citizens. So even we can say that educated people, or like the way that you mentioned, like skills and knowledges again, right? So anything, okay? So these are output. Okay? So look here. In school, right? In school, so it is not a device, or it is not a small equipment. It's an organization with multiple human beings and other things. So even though it is an organization, it has these three things: inputs, process, and output, right? So students are taken, teachers, principal, funds are engaged, and they all perform these teaching and learning processes. And as a result of the processing, we get good citizens, right? We are able to produce good citizens, right? Okay, that's one example. So let me take one more example. Right, look. So we discussed about hospital. Did we discuss about hospital and its subsystems? Yes, right?
Yes, sir.
For both
Yes, sir.
batches, for both batches, I have explained, right? We took that hospital system and identified those component subsystem. Yes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Look, so I take the hospital again. Right, because you all know that the hospital is a system because it has components. These components must work together to achieve a task or perform a task, right? So hospital is a system. It has components and also it has subsystems we discussed, right? So let's identify the inputs, process, and output in hospital system. So I take the inputs first. Right, we have inputs, we have patients, maybe doctors, nurses, medicines, right? So these can be taken as inputs because these are important for achieving or for performing tasks. So whatever you need for performing tasks can be taken as inputs, right? So once these inputs are brought, you will have to perform process. So what about the process of a hospital system?
Treatment.
Surgeries,
Surgeries.
providing treatment.
Yes. So simply treatment, right? Yes, surgery also included. Whatever treatment is, it is treatment, right? You know, there can be types of treatments, but everything is a treatment. So simply we can say that the processing is treating the patient or treatment. So as a result of the process, we will be able to produce outputs, right? So here output. So what about the output of a hospital?
Healthy persons.
Healthy persons. Any others? Any others? If you have any different answers, no. Right. Okay, healthy people or healthy persons. Right, healthy people, cured people. Okay, that's correct. But you know, at the same time, when it comes to hospital, you know, there should be deaths also, right? Deaths cannot be, cannot be prevented, right? It is inevitable. So there is a possibility for having deaths. Right, so here in hospital system, we have healthy people as outputs. At the same time, deaths also possible. but not in a school system. I didn't take the negative part. I didn't mention that uneducated people or something, right? So because if it is a school system, if you have inputs and also if you do the process perfectly, definitely you will have to, produce educated people or good citizens. There is no more argument, right? So if you have good inputs, sufficient inputs, and also if your process is fine, there is always a possibility for having good citizens. You can't say that the bad citizens or uneducated people. That is not the point. But here you need to think in a different way, in a negative way, because it is a hospital system. It is related to our lives. So even though the inputs are perfect, even though the process is fine, deaths are inevitable, right? You cannot prevent them, right? So that's the reason why I have taken deaths also. That is also possible. That is one of the outputs. Okay, right. So these are the things in hospital system. So in addition to these two examples, remember the examples that you learned in grade 10, right? So they are important. I don't want to drag them back, right? So you can remember all these things. Okay. So I hope that you all can identify the inputs, processes, and output of any given system, right? Whatever it is, it may be a device, it may be an organization. So you can, but not you will not be given the system that you never know, right? That is not given in the exam. So if they want to give any example and identify the inputs and process output, definitely they will give a system which is well known to you, right? Like a school or hospital, maybe a mobile phone, a computer, right? Because these are the well-known systems. So if I give a system which is not known, right, which is never known by you, definitely you can't answer. It's tough to identify the inputs. So don't worry about such things. They never be asked in exams. Okay, right. So let's move to the other one. Right. So hereafter we have to discuss about types of systems. So as I told you earlier, for the first maybe 3 classes, we will be working with systems. We will be dealing with systems, right? So after that, after completing 2 classes or maybe 3 classes, we will have to start discussing about information system. Even though the unit is information system, we have to take the backgrounds about system first, right? Thereafter, we will go and take information systems, right? So types of systems. So here, the system can be divided based on 2 different aspects, right? So we can divide the system in 2 different aspects. I'm not trying to say that we have 2 types of system. That is not the point which I'm making. We have types of system based on 2 different dimensions, so aspects, like the one which we studied earlier. Look here, types of computer. So if I asked you to give the types of computer, you can't say supercomputer or mainframe or mini, because computer is divided based on 3 different aspects. Computers are divided based on size. Computers are divided based on the technology used, and also they are divided based on the purpose. I think for grade 10, that purpose is not included in the syllabus. You learn 2, right? According to the size and according to the technology, but even purpose also there. So according to the size, you have supercomputer, mainframe, mini computer, microcomputer. According to the technology, you have analog computer, you have digital and hybrid. According to the purpose, you have special purpose computers as well as general purpose computers. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, you can't say that we have 5 types or 6 types or 3 types computer. So we have computers types in different aspects or different categories. So based on the size, you have some types. Based on the technology, you have some other types, right? So here also, types of systems. So systems are divided based on two different aspects. The first one, based on how the system is formed, right? We need to categorize the system according to the formation, how the system is created or how the system is formed, right? So that is first, how the system is formed. Look, these are very simple things. I try to explain briefly, right? And you have another category or another type, which is not related to the formation, which is based on how a system communicates with its environment. I repeat it, it is based on how a system interacts with the environment. I will explain this and wait. So how a system interacts with environment. Okay, so here also we have some systems. I tell you, here also I have systems. So, but here it is based on how it is created, how it is formed. Here it is based on how a system communicates with its environment, or how a system interacts with the environment, right? I will take this part little later because I need to explain some of the backgrounds first, right? So wait until I take the backgrounds. After that, I will explain, right? So don't worry about such words, right? Let's take the first one. It's too simple. So the first one is how a system is formed. So based on this category or based on this aspect, we have two types of system. First one is called natural system. Second, artificial system, right? Natural system and artificial system. It's very simple, right? So can anyone tell me what is natural system? It doesn't need any introduction, right? Tell me what is natural system?
The system that exists spontaneously.
Okay, which means it is not the man-made systems, right? So the natural systems exist in nature, right? So these are not man-made systems, these are existing in nature. But if it is artificial system, it must be a man-made system, right? There should be a human involvement there, so that human being should create that particular system. That is artificial. That is that doesn't exist in nature. That must be built by someone, right? So that is man-made, but natural systems are not man-made. This is more than enough. So give me one or two natural systems. Give me one natural system. You can think, right? You know how to identify the system. So use that idea and tell me one or two natural systems. Vaishnavi K. Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi K.
Yes, sir.
So tell me one natural system.
Human.
Yes, human body or human is one of the natural systems, right? It is not man-made, but we discussed about human body on the other day, right? So it is a system. We have proven that, right? So we have components, they work together. We have subsystems. So we are systems. At the same time, we are not man-made, right? So that is natural. So give me one more, Yadushan. Yadushan. Don't take much time. Try quickly respond. Yadushan. Kirtana. Kirtana. I'm using your profile names, right? So if it is different name, try responding because you know that name, right? Kirtana. Lojidan. 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 Don't know, right? Madangi. Madangi.
Sir,
Just
sir,
give me one.
um, sir,
Yes, give me one. These are not hard, right? Aarti, Aarti.
plants,
Plants. Okay, look. Yes, you have human beings. That is one of the natural system. Yes, plants, right? You know, plant is a system because it takes the inputs, right, from the environment like CO2 or maybe water or sunlight. So these are inputs, and there may be some processes inside, and also you will be able to get some output, right, like oxygen and other things, right? So definitely it must be a system, but you know that it is not the man-made system, it is the natural system, plants or trees, whatever. Even you know the solar system, right? It may be the biggest system, solar system. So that is also definitely natural system. They are also components working together, right? So you have sun or maybe things around earth, right? So everything is a component. So they are working together as a unit. So it is a solar system. So solar system, definitely a natural system. Even we can say the ecosystem, the surroundings, right? Everything which surrounds us, like oceans or maybe rivers or forest. So that ecosystem. So these are some of the natural systems. You know, if when it comes to artificial system, I already mentioned that they are man-made systems. So it is too easy to find them, right? So the things which we mentioned, like computer is an artificial system. ATM is one of the artificial systems. Even school is artificial. Hospital, artificial. So there are many artificial systems. Even every device that you see, it may be an AC, it may be a washing machine or right fridge or whatever, right? Everything must be artificial system. So now it is too easy to compare these two things. So you can simply say that the majority of the systems in our environment should be artificial systems. We can say maybe more than 90%, maybe 99% of the systems are artificial. Only few of them may be natural systems, right? So can anyone tell me the reason? Why do you have artificial systems as majority in numbers? Right, natural systems are very less. What could be the reason for having such difference?
Because of the needs of the human.
Yes. So artificial systems are formed in order to fulfill the needs of your task. See, whenever you have a need or purpose, there is an artificial system is built. Imagine, so why did they, form the school? Or why did they form the hospital? Or why did they invent a mobile phone? Or why did they invent the computer? Ask yourself, you can find the answer, right? So there is always a need behind it. See, communication was a big problem in the past, so they invented mobile phones. Calculation became difficult at that time, they invented computers. Right? So people lost their lives in the past, right? There was no, treatment or such things, so they built hospitals, right? So there is always a need for building or creating or forming artificial systems. But you know, as a human being, you have needs which are in numbers, right? Numerous needs. None of us can say that we have limited needs, right? So we have needs which are unlimited. So to fulfill each and every need, you need a system. It may be a small system or it may be a big, but definitely you need a system. That may be the reason why we have artificial systems, right? We have a lot of, or maybe millions of artificial systems around the world, but you know, nature never gives such things. Nature will give, or nature can give only the things which are essential, right? So it gives essential things like human beings, animals, birds, right? And trees, so such important things, okay? But it is up to us to form artificial systems, okay? So these are the two systems. They are based on how they are formed, right? This is one classification, okay? Right. Before I start that second category, which is based on how a system is, how a system communicates with the environment, I must explain some background, right? So wait, I will take it. Right, before that, let's have a look at the things which we discussed. Sometimes it's boring, when I explain everything all the time, right? So let's go and take some descriptions, right? So this is how we started system. System is a collection of interrelated components which work together in order to achieve a specific goal. The system can also be considered a collection of several interrelated subsystems we discussed, right? What is a subsystem? It's a group of interrelated components that performs an important task of important task as component of a larger system. We discussed, right? So subsystems are there. The basic things are components. When some of the related components are got together, they form subsystems. When all the subsystems are linked, it becomes as a system, right? So look here, classify the system according to the formation. We have natural system, artificial system. What is natural system? A system which exists in nature. It is not the man-made system, human body, plants, ecosystem, solar system, everything is there. Right. Okay. So let's take that. Right. Before I start the second category, I have to explain something. Have a look at this. Look, this is a system. Assume this circle is a system. So since it is a system, right? Since it is a system, it should have components inside. So let me write some of the components, right? Principal, teachers, students, funds, resources, right? So all these things are components. So that's the reason why they are within the system. They are inside of the system, right? So remember, the system is limited to this border, right? So this is a school system. This is school, right? So if you take the outside part of this system, right, the external environment, the external part, so that external part can be called environment. Okay, so you have components within the system, but the outside of the system can be taken as environment. So in the environment of a school, you may have some institutions, some other parameters, other factors, right? So let me write some of the things which can be seen in your environment, in your school environment. So there may be parents, right? So we know that parents are related to school, but they are not the components of a school. because they are not, they are not participating in regular activities. So they may engage, right? But they cannot be taken as components. So they are in the environment, right? So even all students, right? So they engage or they contribute to the school, but they are not components, right? So it may be all students, right? It may be all girls, all boys. So they are in the environment, right? Even your close by schools, neighboring schools, right? They are also in the environment, neighboring schools. Right. So see, look, I'm writing some of the factors, some of the things which are related to which are related to school. That school environment may have so many things, right? So many things which are not related to school, maybe shops or other things. But I have taken the things which are related to school, right? So neighboring schools, even the government should monitor or supervise your school. So government has institutions to control your school. So one of them is Department of Education, right? So that may be one. Department of Education is one of the factors in the environment. So these factors or these things are in the environment of your school. So here these are components, these are within the system. So now you have to understand that this is the one, right? This border, or this is the one which separates both the environment and the system. Have you understood? This border, right? This border separates, I'm talking about this line. This line separates the system from its environment. So that border is very important, because then only you can say that, okay, it is environment, it is school. Outside of that particular line is the environment, internally it is school. So that border is called system boundary, right? System boundary. This is called system boundary. Every system has its own boundary. It may be an imaginary line too, right? You can't say that it is always a physical wall or physical path. It may be an imaginary line, but every system must have that particular line or particular boundary. Then only you can say, okay, this is environment, this is a system, right? So this is called system boundary. So here, outside of the system boundary, you have the environmental things. Inside of the system boundary, inner part of the system boundary, you have the components which are inside of your school. Have you understood? So system boundary is important because it tells what are inside and what are outside. Because of the system boundary, we can see both of them. Okay, right. So remember this point. Now we can take the second type of second type of system. Right, look. So we have another type of system which is based on how the system communicates with the environment, right? So now you can understand the term environment, right? So here we have two types of system. Based on this category, we have two types of system: open system, closed system, right? There is one called open system. This is first one, and also we have closed system. Closed system. So I hope that you can guess something here. So as I always say, try guessing something when a word is introduced. Try improving such skills, because so the needed foundation has been given. So I have given some of the idea, like I explained about environment, system boundaries, and other things. So if you take the word open and closed, right, after introducing such words, system boundaries and other things, definitely you have the ability to think, right? So anybody, describe about open. What is open system?
A system which do not have any system boundaries might be open system.
A system which, repeat it?
Do not have a system which doesn't have any system boundaries might be open system.
Okay, okay. I will give the conclusion. I will. I mean, this explain. Others? Any others? Try guessing. Right? You can try getting something from the word, because words have their meanings.
Open system means the system that has relationship with external factors.
The sound is too low, right? I am unable to hear anything. Just, I mean, try giving your answer loudly. Then only I can understand. Give it again.
Open system means the system that has relationship with the external environment.
So what about closed system? So what is closed system? I'm asking you. So if it is open, okay. So what is closed?
That didn't have any relationship with external.
Okay, right. Look, I will explain. Right. So as the name implies, open system always has a communication with the environment, with its environment. The systems which have communications or which interact with the environment can be taken as open system. Wait until I finish, right? Open system are the systems which often communicate with the environment, right? So that's why it is called open. Look here. So it means they go beyond that, this system boundary. The system boundary is not the restricted thing. They go to the outside world and communicate. Things can come from in external world to the system, and also things can go from system to the external world. So there is no restriction. There is no barrier. So this is called open. A system can communicate with the environment at any time. It would be easy if I give one example, right? Wait until I take them. Okay, so this is briefly open system, a very brief definition for open system. Look here, closed. The term itself has the name, closed. So here closed system means a system which doesn't have any communication, which doesn't have any interactions with the environment, right? That can be taken as closed system. So now we define or we categorize like open and closed based on that particular system boundary. That may be the reason why I have explained the system boundary earlier, right? So system boundary is the point, or is the factor which decides whether it is open or closed. So if it is open system, the system goes beyond that system boundary and has communication with the environment. But if it is a closed system, it cannot go beyond that system boundary. So system boundary is the barrier. So it cannot go to the external world and take the things. So it is restricted, right? In closed system, you cannot have any communications with the environment. Okay, wait, I will have to modify some things. I have to write, take some examples and elaborate my answers. Right, wait. So I talked about open system as the systems which have communication with the environment. So I hope that it is not hard to understand because it's too easy. Take a look at your school, right? This is school example. How do you think, right? School, is it an open system or closed system? What
Open
is your
system.
thought on school? Is it open or closed?
Open system.
System.
Open system. Any options, any ideas? Do you think that it is closed? Anyone? Yes, you are right. It is open system because as you can see here, right? You can easily see right? You can easily see that a school always has a communication with the environment, right? So, you know, the environmental factors are there, like education department or maybe parents, other schools. So there is always a communication between the environment and the school. So you can't say that it is closed, right? So it is open systems, one of the open systems. And also I must tell you one more thing. If it is an open system, right? Listen to me carefully. This is a very important point. If it is an open system, inputs are always taken from the environment, right? We bring the inputs from the environment. Inputs are taken like this. Then the process must be within the system. So process should be within the system. As a result of the process, the output is produced. That output must be back to the system, back to the environment. So output must be given back to the environment. This is the typical open system, right? You bring the inputs from the environment. In our cases, students and everything will be taken from the environment. And the process must be taken place within the system. So, you know, teaching and learning must be within the system. As a result of that, you know, good citizens, those good citizens must be given back to the environment, right? You will be back to the environment once you finish your studies. So that must be open system. Even hospital, open system, right? Think about the mobile phone, open system, because if it is mobile phone, the user who handles that mobile phone is in the environment. That particular mobile phone, that smartphone has a boundary, right? So we are in the outside. So if I am using the mobile phone, if I'm operating the mobile phone just now, I am the person who inputs, but I'm in the environment. So when I input something, process will be within the system. So if I am making a call to someone, right, I have to dial the number. So inputs are given from me. So I am in the external world. But once inputs are given, you know, within the mobile phone, there must be some processes taken place. As a result of the process, I will be connected back to the, I will be connected to another person, which means output is given to the external world. Think about the computer. Computer is one of the open systems, right? So if I am typing some paragraph, I am the person who handles, right? So I am in the environment. I input such things, but whenever I input, you know, process happens inside of the computer, and I will be able to see the output on the screen, which means outputs are given back to me. So computer or mobile phone or fingerprint reader or hospital or right, school, human body, everything must be open system. Even think about the plants, open system. We already, included that one as natural system because that is one aspect based on how it is formed. Plant or tree was categorized as natural, but now we are in the different aspect, right? This is based on how a system communicates. So in this case, plant should be open system because, you know, plants take CO2 or sunlight or whatever from the environment, and after doing some processes, it gives the oxygen or glucose or whatever to the environment back, right? So that must be open system. So if it is closed system, right? Listen, if it is closed system, it cannot have any interactions with the environment. It means it cannot go beyond that in a system boundary. So what happens within or what happens in a closed system? All the inputs, right? If it is a closed systems, all the inputs must be taken within the system. You cannot take anything from outside world. So inputs must be taken from the system. Listen to me carefully, I will give some idea. What about the process? Definitely process also taken place inside of the system. You bring the inputs from within the system, and also the process is taken place within the system, even the output is given back to the system. Nothing goes outside or nothing taken from external world, right? So even the output is given. Here you can't give the output to the environment. Even output must be within the system, right? So everything within the system boundary, everything within the system. This is a closed system. In fact, a fully closed system. But when I explain or when I describe such thing, you may have the feeling that it is impossible to have, right? So no systems in the world which are absolutely closed, right? I can't point any single system which is fully closed. It is too difficult. Maybe at least a small interaction with the environment is possible, right? You cannot say that all the systems are fully closed. It is too deep. See, if it is open system, we can point the fingers towards many systems. Almost all the systems in the world which are open, almost all, right? Like the artificial system dominate, right? In the other category, you know, artificial systems dominate, right? So here also, it is too difficult to find closed systems. Almost all the systems are open because that's the nature, right? Every system depends on the environment. They bring the inputs and they give the output back to the environment, right? So no systems in the world which are fully closed. So, but in a theoretical manner, we can define like that, right? Inputs must be taken from the system, process also taken place within the system, and output is given back to the system as well. So this may be okay when it comes to definition of something in written, but in a practical manner, you can't say like that. So listen to me carefully, right? Therefore, if a system partially interacts with the environment, if a system has a small connection with the environment, that can be taken as closed system, because we don't have any systems which are fully closed. It is too difficult to find such systems. So if a system has a small connection, small interactions, that can be considered as closed system. So, you know, school cannot be considered as closed system because it is widely open for the environment, right? So the factors in the environment can come and communicate with the school. So we can't say that it is partially opened, right? It is fully opened. But what I'm trying to say is, if a system has a partial connection, then it is possible to be as closed system. So even think about the hospital system, it is widely open. Think about the computer, we input whatever, right? We input many things. So you can't say that it has a restriction. But there may be some systems which have restriction. I tell you one. Later I can explain some other things. See, we often take the prison as one of the closed systems. Prison. Right? So, you know, in prison also one of the organization, one of the institutions like other government institutions, right? But you know, if it is a post office or bank organization, it often has a communication with the environment. Often customers go there and get the services, they come back. So it is widely open for customers, which means external environment. But things like, or institutions like prison, is not like that. You know, in prison, there is always a restriction there. Outsiders cannot go inside and cannot visit inside and see the, people who are trapped, right, who are in the jails. So that is not allowed. Maybe you can't say that it is closed, but there is a small connection with the environment. Those visitors are allowed to visit only for hours. Maybe there is an visiting hour is allocated, so they can go there, and only few very close relations can go there and meet the people. and they have some restrictions there. They cannot, I mean, talk long time. So that is, you know, the external world has opened, but you can't say it is widely open. I hope that you can understand the thing what I'm trying to focus, right? Or what I'm trying to drag. So it is restriction. It has a restriction. That is closed system. Because it is open, but that amount of open is very, very narrow. So we can say that it is one of the closed system. Even examination system is one of the closed systems, right? I will explain how an examination system is a closed. Even you can imagine that examination unit which is in your school. There may be an examination unit in your school. There may be a room, right, that has that examination room. Think about that examination room. So you have so many units in your school, like computer room, maybe laboratories, libraries, right? There may be some other playgrounds. So there is no restriction, right? You may have, but it is not the biggest restriction, right? You can visit a library for using the books. When you can visit to the labs, right? Maybe playgrounds. So that is okay, but they are open systems. But think about that examination room, right? You have that examination room. Their examination activities are going on, right? Preparing the examination paper, printing, right? Packeting. So, you know, examination activities must be done secretly with high amount of, I mean, secrecy. So there, external people are not allowed. External people means the people which are outside of that examination unit, like teachers, students, or whoever. So they are, I mean, not permitted. Even teachers are not permitted. Only those authorized people can access or can enter into the room. So now think about that is not, compare that examination room with your library or with your lab. So in a library you can enter, right? Maybe you have a time for that particular time you can. You can't say that it is closed, right? Because you enter only for limited hours. That is not the point. You can use your library, right? That is widely open. Before school, after school, right? Free periods, that is open. But now compare your examination unit with that library. Can you enter to the examination unit, or can you, I mean, discuss some things which inside? No, never. Not only you, right? Anyone cannot. So this is closed because this is partially open to the environment, right? Only some permitted people can go inside and do tasks. So examination system is one of the closed systems. Okay, so remember these points. Even blood circulation, take a look at your human body. So blood circulation system is one of the subsystems. Even though it is a subsystem, try understanding that it is a system, because if it is a system, it's a collection of components. In a blood circulation system, you know, things are working together. So blood circulation system is a system, but since it is a part of a human body, it is taken as subsystem. Blood circulation is one of the closed systems. But if it is digestive or if it is respiratory or something, they are open, right? They are open system. Okay. So I hope that you can understand such things. So today we mostly focused on the types of systems. We divided into two things, right? Based on how the system is formed and based on how a system communicates with the environment. So we discuss all these things. Okay. So it's enough for today. We will meet in another class. Okay. Thank you.